Having come and gone during the pandemic, the 50th anniversary of Earth Day was a milestone in the environmental movement. In the past 50 years, there has been a renewed interest in preserving natural spaces and caring for them in ways that will protect them for generations to come. Kristen Bellantuono from the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection joins us today to talk the Sky's the Limit Trail Challenge, Passport to Parks program, and all the activities this summer will bring to our state parks. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum in important state and local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This isn't the first time we've had someone from the Connecticut Deep on the show. The commissioner was on a few years back, but a lot has changed since then. Mm-hmm. Most notably, for all of us, we had a pandemic, which certainly in the first year there and stuff, there's a lot of, emphasis on the social distancing and, being outside, which at least from my perspective seemed to drive a lot of new people out to the parks and to, discovering the park. What was that like at Deep, and has some of that influx of new people stuck around?
Gosh, absolutely, in so many different ways. As unfortunate as COVID was for so many reasons, there's kind of a silver lining, we'll say, with that. We had so many more families, groups, people in general kind of get outside to embrace, play, have fun, walk, hike, just enjoy basically our natural resources and everything that our state parks and forests have to offer. So that's been kind of our biggest thing. Huge thanks probably to our park staff, our maintainers, our supervisors for all that they've done we never closed. Essentially there were times that, with the exception of the evenings, we didn't close. We were always open, always giving it, I'll say 150% to the best of our ability to keep the parks clean. And there were some days, we were definitely overrun with people. Which can be both good and bad, but, definitely trying to provide that, outdoor safe space, healthy space where people could go escape with each other, with their friends, family, have meetups, that what they determined was that safe distance. But I think that's been the both positive and negative that, as much as COVID was there, I think it allowed people in general to kind of get back to connecting with each other, with themselves, the outdoors, especially. And I can truly say with a lot of the programs that I run, I've definitely seen that as can our other, everywhere across the parks has seen that, as well as our forests as well.
That's great. Sounds like, a lot of people put in a lot of hard work over the last few years to keep everything going. Was Connecticut prepared for that influx of visitors to the parks, or did it kind of catch everyone off guard?
Yeah. I think we have such amazing staff that works in our park and forest division, that state parks in general, that I think they were up for any challenge, and they've been able to definitely live up to that. But I don't think, anybody really knows, what it's really going to look like. We've never been in a pandemic like this, so we didn't know what to expect, what the outcome would be. You listen to the news, you listen to the press, you listen to, the weekly updates that we were getting, in our agency. Some people are in the office, some people are out of the office, some people are full-time in the field. So I think it was, we did the best that we could, and I think we did one heck of a job with that. I know, a lot of the programs that I ran, we were still doing programs, sometimes with a distance, sometimes remotely, sometimes with Zoom, sometimes with Teams, trying to figure out all the different ways that we could still offer opportunities and ways to kind of connect and, I'll say, get outdoors without physically being there with each other. We definitely leaned on technology quite a bit during that time frame, but I think we're successful. I'm sure we've learned a lot along the way. But again, we had never been through something like this. So I think it's a huge learning curve. And the park and forest staff are amazing people that did a wonderful job and continue to do that job. And, I'm glad that I get to work for such a great group, or with such a great group of people.
One of the big reasons that we wanted to talk to you today specifically is we're coming into summer now, and we're excited about the 2023 Sky's the Limit Challenge, which is to keep folks going to our incredible parks in Connecticut. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenge and this year's theme, which is in, under, over, and through?
Yes. So this is, the 8th year of the program.
Okay.
I believe it's the 8th, yes. Started back in 2015. So, it's kind of morphed a little bit, but it's really a way to get people outdoors into our parks and forests and specifically onto our trails, albeit short trails, long trails, a little bit of everything. I took over the program several years ago. So I've tried to do it more thematic in the terms of each year, something kind of around a particular theme. Like last year was Best Kept Secrets. So with different locations kind of across the state that whether you think it's a best kept secret or someone else, like something unique, different, special that we did.
So we all know Ham and Acid and some of those big parks, and these were the little exciting pocket parks and the ones that are out of the way.
Exactly.
That was cool.
And so we want to kind of have a little bit of everything. So you have big ones, small ones, close and far, truly kind of balancing as much as we can across the state, because we know Connecticut's not the largest state, but it does take sometimes about an hour and a half to get from one side of the state to the other. So we don't want anybody to feel kind of slighted in a sense, kind of the upper, northern, southern, kind of eastern, western, and somewhere central location. So decide to go with the theme in, under, over, and through. You might be in the middle of the forest, underground, on a linear trail, up in a tower, just kind of something a little bit different, kind of picking a little bit of what we've done in the past. We do have 110 state parks, 32 state forests, so you can't help but repeat some of them because the locations are beautiful, the opportunities that these areas offer, the trails. But with the Sky's the Limit Hiking Challenge, it's open to anybody. It's all free. We just try to get people outside together, enjoying themselves. We tell them where to go, what trails to see, what to look for, what photographs to take. So we try to make it as, I'll say, easy as we can. You don't have to be a novice. You don't have to be an expert. We just want people to really get outside and enjoy, what our parks and forests have to offer, and specifically our trails, and our walking spaces and hiking spaces have to offer.
Yeah. You mentioned that, there's harder trails and easier trails. Is that something you have to take in mind with something like this, like accessibility to, people that might not be as mobile, that there's some easier ones they could do and still participate?
Yep, absolutely. So we don't want to feel that anybody feels deprived from participating. So, again, every single trail doesn't fit every single person's ability level or interest. So we have some longer trails, some shorter trails, some flat trails, some that are more uphill or a little more strenuous. So we want to kind of cater to the greater good, the greater group, whether it's a family that wants to go out there, whether it's an older retired couple that loves to go out for walks every day, Boy Scout troop or Girl Scout troop, just some friends that say, hey, we have a free Saturday. Let's go to a location and I'm feeling strong today. Let's go try to, challenge ourselves a little bit on one of these trails. We want something that kind of fits for as many people as it can. Obviously, it's not perfect for everybody, but we want to definitely have a lot of offerings in there, and you're not required to do everything, or you can do some of it or all of it. We just kind of put it out there for folks to participate. This year, there's 15 specific locations. So if you hike all 15, you submit kind of according to the rules. So we basically ask you to visit the site, take a couple, I'll call them selfies or site photographs, and then submit those to us at the end through a Google form. If you do all that, we kind of collect that information. You get a Sky's the Limit hiking certificate, Sky's the Limit hiking medallion, and then your name goes in for a chance to win one of 50 hand-carved hiking sticks.
Oh, cool.
That are made by our sawmill. We have a gentleman by the name of Jim Moore who collects, he and his staff collect the different branches that have fallen. Generally, they're all from our different state parks or forests.
Oh, that's very cool.
They take those, they kind of reclaim those, reuse those. So basically the chance for folks to win those. So typically around January 1st is when we have kind of our get together, kind of our celebration where we draw the names live in front of everybody. You don't have to be there in person to receive your hiking stick. And people get really excited about that. So it's either the sawmill, Jim Moore and his staff that do that, or we've worked with the Connecticut Woodcarvers Association in the past, and they were incredibly generous over the years and surprised us this past year with an additional 50 hiking sticks. So we had 100 that those participating were able to get. So people were super excited about that. So we just kind of called everybody's names and said, okay, I know the rush is here. Everybody wants kind of that unique one. The hand-carved hiking sticks have a little unique, like chiseled leaf or some type of fern or something in it. Some people, they like the color, the size. Everybody has a particular feel that they want. The hiking stick has to be the right size, the right shape, the right color for some people. So that's kind of the big draws for that. But as long as you do, a majority of those, I think, I want to say it's 10 this year out of the 15, or maybe it's maybe it's 8, you still get your certificate and hiking stick. And the other great thing that we've added within the past couple of years is the canine friends. So we have most people, a lot of people that love to hike with their dogs. So if their dogs participate, they get a Sky's the Limit bright orange hiking bandana. So,
that's cute.
So people are well aware that they're out there, especially during kind of the hunting season where you want to have the proper color gear on there, just to let the, kind of hunters know, hey, I'm out here and with my furry friend.
That's so cool. So you said there's 15 that are focused on for this year, right? And 5 rail trails, 10 state parks. Now, for a lot of people, when we hear rail trail, we think about bicycles. Can people also walk on those trails?
Yep. Some people walk, some people hike, some people bicycle. So another reason we want to include those rail trails this year, so it's not limiting in the sense you don't have to just walk, you don't have to hike. You can ride your bike, you can take the scooter or whatever, the wheelchair, whatever you'd like to, bring out there, especially families, it's very flat and straight. So kind of be able to, grab the whole family and everybody can kind of be together, whatever type of mode of transportation you're taking, whether it's walking, the stroller, the bike, whatever it is. So there's definitely ample opportunity with a lot of those rail trails.
Oh, that's very cool. All different ability levels can do this. But on the, the tougher end, are there some trails and opportunities in the state where people might need legit hiking equipment, carabiners, and that sort of thing?
Generally not to that extent, but there's some that kind of might have a little bit more in terms of elevation, say, kind of that elevation climb, a little more strenuous in that sense. If you're, a little hesitant about that, you definitely want to do a little bit, kind of look at the information we provided, maybe do a little homework kind of on your own. We included a lot of other links and information to, all trails, and in particular, this was a wonderful partnership specifically with Sky's the Limit. Deep has already been working with the Connecticut Trail Finder with Yukon. So they've done an amazing job of trying to put all this information together in one place to kind of provide some of this other detailed information about the hike, the levels, the steepness, the terrain, that, myself, and, the seasonals that go out and actually physically hike all these locations, look at all those, kind of a broader perspective and a broader view on, what these trails look like. But generally, really to answer your question, we're not scaling mountains. We're not scaling, something that would, risk someone's safety. But, there are some people that might take it to that next level. We provide you to, X trail. They might say, I'm going to go on Y and Z while I'm here. And that's what we love about it. So we're giving you some information, kind of some tools for your proverbial toolbox, and then people can go with it after that, because we definitely have some people that are true novices, the others that are, I'll call them experts, but love to hike and love to do, some of these linear trails, rail trails can be 5 to 10 to 40 miles long. So, we ask you to do a certain amount, whether that's, you call it starting at point A, going to point B and coming back to point A, or if you want to, strategically place your car, vehicles, and people to drop you off and pick you up, you have every right to do that. We're just trying to give you kind of the information, and then you can kind of choose I'll call it your adventure that you want to take.
If someone's interested, you said you gather that information, work with Yukon, where would they go to find that info? Is that on the website or something like that?
So that is, it will be eventually on our website. So it's just about done. So I don't want to, I guess I could probably release part of it, but I'd rather have it when, all 15 locations are up and ready to go. So there are the Trail Finder, is it trailfinder.com, I believe. So if they just kind of Google Trail Finder, Connecticut Trail Finder, it'll take you right to the Yukon site. So there's all sorts of abilities and opportunities that you can do there, kind of create your own account, log your miles, log all that stuff. So initially for this particular year, we're utilizing it as kind of a base to added information, added resources, and with the hopes that next year or the year after that we can utilize the Connecticut Trail Finder for kind of all-encompassing, as Kristen Bellantuono, I go out there to participate in this. I can manage my whole, Sky's the Limit program schedule, hikes, distances, competition with friends, like everything is kind of one-stop shopping. So the folks at UConn have been amazing, and I've learned so much myself. And a couple of the other deep staff that I'm working with have kind of our GIS folks, our Rec Trails grant people. Just, it's been wonderful to kind of see that collaboration come together with everybody that has such knowledge and expertise. Where yes, I put the program together, but it's wonderful to work with these other folks that can, make me realize there's so much more than like this little, the hiking trails and the walking trails, but now we can kind of put it together in a much bigger, broader program for folks to utilize.
There's always something new to learn.
Yes. And
so, we're not doing
absolutely.
anything extreme on these hikes. We don't need, special extreme sports equipment, but is there other equipment that people should be thinking about when they're going hiking, even if it's just sunblock or just other safety precautions they should be taking?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So kind of on the site ourselves, we kind of give you some suggestions, but again, everybody's needs and wants might be a little bit different, but generally always having kind of, I'll call it the backpack, have that with bug spray, suntan lotion, water, snacks, kind of those regular things that you need, definitely have kind of maybe a change of clothes or other layers. It sounds like this backpack is going to be so big, but it's kind of the basic things because you never know if the weather could change. Connecticut, we kind of have a little bit of an idea of, okay, it's a storm coming in. It's not like it's going to roll up on us, but you just have to be aware of kind of the temperature and the weather and kind of conditions out there, knowing full well that throughout the whole season, our program starts in March and goes to basically December. So what it looks like in March as compared to kind of the spring, the summer, and the winter is also very, very different because obviously in the early spring, a lot of areas get very wet, generally from the snow melt. Granted, we didn't have a lot of snow this year, but some of the recent rains have definitely made some areas a little muddier, a little more difficult to kind of maneuver. Just kind of the bag itself always, have an extra charger, the cell phone, and probably most importantly, most people still depend on kind of the cell phone to go to Google the map or go onto our website or All Trails. But it's always good to still have that physical paper map because you just never know when the battery will die. You don't have service. Kind of have the basic needs. And again, a novice person, those are the people that we're going to, just getting in the hike and say, these are what we recommend that you use. But someone who, is out on the trails 3 times, 4 times a week, they probably have it set to a very specific.
They know what their equipment is.
That they know exactly what they're doing. But definitely you want to be prepared and aware. Definitely let people know ahead of time, if you're hiking solo, where you're going, when you expect to be there and get home. Definitely the safety always comes first. And especially during different parts of the year, especially during the hunting season, you want to be aware of where you are before you go out. Just be aware that some of these areas, there might be hunting nearby. You have, whether it be orange or some other type of bright colored clothing that kind of alerts those around you that, you're truly hiking.
You don't want to go hiking in camouflage necessarily.
No, not at all. That would not be a good thing. But in general, it's, to everybody's credit, whether some people like to wear, particular type of clothing, you want something that's going to allow you to breathe. Some people want their trekking poles or their hiking stick. Most importantly, sturdy shoes, whether it's hiking boots, hiking shoes. Now there's all different types of, you walk into REI, Ella Bean, there's probably 40 different types of all-weather shoes. And I think it's, everybody's comfort level too, but it's just really being prepared to have kind of the basic necessities, the proper footwear, knowing the weather conditions, whether it be sunblock, bug spray, those type of things. And most importantly, definitely be very, very careful. The ticks, I've heard, watching a lot of the hiking sites, the Facebook sites and other friends, just the ticks are out there and you got to be very, very careful and be very, very aware that before you go, do your check. And especially when you finish, kind of do that check from head to toe, just to make sure. I always carry one of the lint brushes with me when I go, even the smaller, the little one, because it fits nicely in my backpack. Let's kind of go over. I saw something actually yesterday that made me laugh, that someone had taken duct tape or some type of sticky tape and wrapped it around kind of their ankles. And, when they came out, obviously a tick or whatever type of bug, it's stuck there, so you're not going to miss it. But
it's almost like flypaper.
It might look a little funny on the trails, but you're safe. I think
does bug spray help? Does it ward off ticks? Are they one of the bugs that it will help kind of fend off?
Certain types. There's so many different types out there, and some are more potent than others. And again, I think too, a lot of that is personal preference. Where in general, we wouldn't recommend one over the other. I think it's truly personal preference, and some people are allergic to certain things, other people are not. So it's kind of find the one that's best for you.
But it's always good to physically check after a hike, make sure there's no ticks.
Yeah, that's always, it doesn't matter what time of year. And, I've said that to my kids when we're doing our family programs, always like, sometimes you forget until after you're like, I feel something on my leg. It's one of those that definitely check and recheck. Sometimes while you're on the trail, if you happen to go through, say, a really brushy area or an area that, might make you think twice to go, let me just double check that, especially if, a lot of our friends too bring their dogs with them and, they've definitely got to make sure, just as you're going to check for yourself, but definitely make sure that you give a check to the dog or whomever else.
And are dogs susceptible to some tick-borne illnesses just like we are?
Oh, definitely. I have a dog myself, and I'm very careful with that. I took her up for her morning walk today, and it was like, yes, we're just kind of walking on the main sidewalk, but there's some grass areas, and I kind of do my full check on her as well. She has her monthly flea and tick that we give her, and some other things that are recommended by the vet. So far so good. Fingers crossed, she's been okay, and don't get out in the trails as much as we'd like to, but we do more of kind of the neighborhood walks. She gets too easily distracted by everything and everyone, so we try to stay a little more local.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. In the Sky's the Limit Challenge, there's 15 different locations. I know it's like asking someone to pick their favorite child, but do you have a favorite of those? The one that, is interesting or that you maybe discovered later in life?
Goodness. Wow. I guess I have to be careful how I answer this one and who's listening to this. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of peeking down here at my cheat sheet here. Wow. I think all of them have a kind of a unique something that I've enjoyed. That's why I've kind of chosen them. Oh boy. I probably have to say one of the linear trails. I think probably for me, the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, just because that's a regular go-to place for us. I live in Bristol, Connecticut, so it's very, kind of very close, and I can go, all different parts of it. So I think that's one that is kind of near and dear.
It does cross into a lot of different towns too, by its nature. Yeah. Exactly.
And, started years ago with parts of it being done with my daughter when she was in Girl Scouts, and, meeting up with some friends here and there to kind of take a nice walk, have lunch. And a lot of these trails too, there's so many wonderful things nearby. I feel like I'm being kind of the tourism for Connecticut, but so many of our Sky's the Limit hikers, they put together kind of a program for themselves. Some will, visit one of these locations and find the local restaurant or the ice cream shop or the donut shop or the candy store. Others are going to the breweries, the wineries. So I think for me, the proximity and the location, that's why I kind of chose that one. But I mean, there's something to everyone here. I mean, just kind of jumps out at me, Chatfield Hollow. We've done a lot of programs there in the past. It's just a beautiful park, beautiful location, so many trails down there. That's one that I've always enjoyed, kind of visiting that park. But I think each one, if I had all the time in the world, I could probably go through each one and tell you specifically, I like this one because
there's something to like in all of them.
But I think each one has there's kind of something unique or fun or different or that stands out, with each location. And I'm hoping too, with the program, that when our participants are out there, some of the photos that they're submitting, they're capturing things that we might not have noticed, we didn't see. There's one more recently that they saw an eagle. One of the air, I don't know, I remember which trail that they were on. I want to say it might have been either Airline or Larkin, or maybe actually, no, it was the Windsor Locks Canal. Someone had sent in a picture saying that they just kind of on their walk, they saw like it was nature all around them and they weren't expecting it. So I think that's something, each person's perspective, the day that they go out, the weather, I think that's the best part because everybody kind of puts their own view on it. And I think that's kind of the best part of it. And I love to like look at all the pictures at the end because everybody kind of submits. In the past, some sent it through snail mail, some made like a photo album, others submitted it through me email and now going to the Google form. But it's nice to kind of see everybody in that aspect. So myself and a couple of staff will go through each and every submittal, just kind of taking a look and being like, wow, that's such a great picture. It looks like they had such a good time together. Or, hey, they, showed us a picture they found, whatever it might be. So I think it's perspective is probably the best part of kind of the program in general, to kind of see everybody's ideas and interest and, what they submit to us in the end is the fun part. Yeah.
That's cool. Before you talked about when you're planning some of these things, think about what restaurant you might want to go to after to get some lunch or something like that. And that's kind of cool to think about that, these parks are also kind of generating income into some of these communities and bringing people from out of state in. And, while you're exploring all the parks, you're also exploring some cool towns across the state. Yeah.
And I think most people don't realize, we like to say it's within 15 minutes of where you live or where you are, there's a park or forest.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much we have so many of them, until probably sometimes you're looking, because before, I've been with Deep for a long time, but prior
Mm-hmm.
to kind of coming up to state parks, like I knew about a lot of the parks. I hadn't been to everyone, and still to this day, I hope, eventually I'll get to every single one in some aspect. I've been to different parks for different reasons, but, it's nice to kind of see a new area, a new location, and then with that, kind of what the local town or city is like, outside of that trail as you're driving going, oh, that's cool. Maybe someone's into gardening or plants. Oh, there's a nice farm stand over here, or an ice cream shop, or overlook, or maybe there's a farm, just something there, because I think everybody is different, who you're going with, what you're looking for. Maybe you only have an hour, maybe you have a whole day. So some people like to truly plan the most with their time for that particular day that they're going out to the park or the location.
Oh, that's very cool. As this episode is airing, we're actually finding ourselves between Earth Day and Arbor Day. Do you guys have any programs or events, or did you for Earth Day, or will you coming up for Arbor Day?
Oh, gosh. So I specifically attended one this past weekend at downtown Thomaston. So it was the first annual kind of Earth Day event with their Arts Commission. So it was a fun day, a little overcast in the morning, but to meet some great new people. I know this coming weekend, I believe it's on Sunday, the People's State Forest, in partnership with Friends of American Legion and People's State Forest, they have I believe it's their 8th annual Barkhamsted Nature Day.
Cool.
So that'll be Sunday from 12:30 to 5 over in the Matties Grove area. I know last week, a lot of our Deep people participated in different programs. I think it was the Ansonia Nature Center. So they had a big program. And those are the ones that just kind of come to mind right now that I was either specifically involved with or knew some friends that were there. But there were so many different programs, I'm sure Deep as a whole, that was involved with that I'm not even aware of. But a lot of our education and outreach folks were doing things. I know Ranger Russ down at Hammonasset, Makes Point Nature Center, they did a big beach cleanup, just kind of ones that kind of come to mind. But, definitely our education outreach staff is very engaged and very involved. And I'm anticipating there's probably some Arbor Day programs coming up, especially with our deep forestry folks. Unfortunately, I wish I had, kind of a list of those to share with everybody. But a lot of it, too, is just kind of working with the local towns, cities, municipalities, just to kind of engage and partner with a lot of upcoming programs.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the arts councils in towns. How important are some of those partnerships with towns and other organizations? Is that a big part of getting these programs off the ground?
Especially for the programs that I run, absolutely. I think, in general, we're looking more and more to partner with different folks, because I think in general, whether it's on their side or our side, resources are always much less than they used to be. So staffing, support, interest. So as often as we can partner locally or with those councils or with outside groups, nonprofits or businesses. We tend to do that, especially the other program that I run is called the No Child Left Inside program. It's been around for 18 years. It's all free programming in our parks and forests, getting, families and whatever that family unit is out into our parks to learn about kind of outdoor recreation opportunities, fishing, boating, camping, wildlife, those type of things. So for my program to run, we rely very much so on our partnerships with our kind of internally and externally. So, for example, on our first event that we'll be hosting is on May 13th, is our Free Family Fishing Day in partnership with our Deep Fisheries Division and specifically our Fish with Care group. So basically, anybody is welcome to attend it. It's 9 to 3 at Wharton Brook State Park in Wallingford. So basically, you just come out. We have fishing poles, bait, instructors, and a bunch of kind of other
free,
activities. It's free. Yep. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is free. So working on the website now to kind of get that up and running. But we typically over the years have called it the Great Park Pursuit, but we're kind of switching up the name a little bit, kind of refreshing it and calling it Families in the Park Program 2023. So that information, I believe it's May 1st, will be kind of going out in the press release, kind of it's open to anybody. So it's kind of free events that are across the state. So we'll have a fishing days, boating days, so many different things, pop-up events. So
people can look up Families in the Park program and after May 1st and find a whole list
everything
of things.
Will be there.
Very cool.
And in the process now of updating the NoChildLeftInside.org website. So everything will be on there. So it'll be a laundry list of programs that kind of start in May and end in December. So some kind of are consistent weekly, others are kind of monthly, others are kind of some pop-up events that we'll just be going to and kind of putting it out there. We're trying to do a lot of sharing on our Deep State Parks Instagram, our Deep State Parks Facebook page, and then kind of our other outlets in there, kind of our partners, the municipalities. That's the best part, getting to work with a lot of groups.
Yeah.
And kind of sharing their knowledge, their information, the people that they have working for them, work so well with us. So we're so thankful for those ongoing partnerships and programs that we have with all these folks.
That's cool. The No Child Left Inside, you said you work with them. Are there No Child Left Inside programs in other states too, or is that a homegrown Connecticut kind of thing?
Yep. We have our specific to Connecticut. I can't talk for the rest of the country, but there's definitely similar. Yep, kind of similar programs kind of across the country. And there's some other legislation going on now to kind of continue the No Child Left Inside program as a whole in providing monies for education and specifically with schools and communities to kind of getting people outdoors. So we're kind of ahead of it here in Connecticut because we have, with our education outreach group and the different, education branches kind of within the agency, we're doing our best to continually educate, share, promote kind of the environmental stewardship with a variety of programs and in turn kind of the programs, at least the No Child Left Inside and the Sky's the Limit, it's free programs, so we're kind of getting it out there, just kind of engaging people of all ages, especially the families. The No Child is always kind of catered to families to kind of introduce them to the outdoors, getting them comfortable with it, kind of sharing our knowledge with them, and then in turn hoping that they have a fun, great day. Maybe they'll recreate it on their own next week, next month, or next year.
Yeah. 18 years it's been going on. I imagine at that point, have you seen like some people that return that come to it year after year, or even some people that were kids when they first did it and now brought their kids? Do you see any of that kind of stuff going on?
Yeah, it's that's the wonderful part. So I've been involved for about 7-8 years now. But prior to that, we have, one family, and I hope they don't mind me mentioning their name, but the Forensic family, they have been involved from day one. So inception of the program in about 18 years. So they started bringing their niece, who's now married, and they bring their twins with them now. So they've been coming, what are the twins, 7-ish, I think. So they've been coming. So we kind of started with that, and they've kind of been with our program from day one. We've had other families that, the kids have kind of grown out of the program, come back to volunteer, to help. We're still working on, a couple of the other kids that have now since graduated are now working for us as seasonals and in some other jobs. So it's wonderful to kind of see where everybody started and to where they are now, and just kind of the support and the love and those that come back to volunteer just because they had a good time or just kind of to sharing kind of what they've learned and what they were involved with. It's, for me, that's the best part, not knowing, a lot of these families from day one, but they're still coming back. A lot of families too, their kids are 16, 17, 18, they'll still show up for example, a boating day because the kids, families, grandparents, whomever it is, come out, they're like, we wouldn't miss this. We get to go out, do a little education, we get to go in the canoe, the kayak, the paddleboard. So it's just wonderful, the kind of community of folks that have been there from day one, that have kind of followed us through, have come back to help. I'm so thankful for what I get to do every day. And kind of getting people to get outside and learn and enjoy what's out there. And then, at the same time realize, hey, you can do this on your own in a state park or forest. So you can go to your local land trust or maybe your local park and do all these things as well.
One of the programs that at least I've seen kind of have a big impact in our parks in recent years has been the Passport to the Parks program, which lets all Connecticut residents go to our state parks for free. At least I've seen, I think, an increase in attendance, but is that bearing through in the numbers? Or have you guys seen a big influx since that program started?
I think, yes, I wish I had some kind of concrete numbers to share with you with that, but absolutely. So, if Connecticut resident, you have you pay a registration fee, it allows you to get in kind of free of charge. We have to remind a lot of the Connecticut folks, like, some might be folks that, stay part of the time, in another state, but it's like, when you come into our parks, you got to have your, make sure you come and, have your car with the Connecticut license plate on it. But yes, I definitely think that's been a, definitely increased kind of visitorship, if you will. We've always had, certain parks, as you know, Hammonasset, Dinosaur State Park, the Shoreline Park, Squan's Pond, there's certain areas that always are have a regular influx and inundation of people because they're wonderful places, but a lot of our smaller parks too are starting to see kind of an increase because folks are like, oh, well, this one would be too busy, but hey, right down the road is park or forest X, Y, or Z, so why don't we go check that out? So I think definitely Passport to the Parks, that program as a whole, has definitely kind of increased our or the ability for, folks to get outside and not having to pay a parking fee. Granted, those that are out of state still are required to pay a parking fee. But again, obviously we're encouraging, people to come out in Connecticut from other states as well to kind of enjoy the wonderful resources that, Connecticut has with all of our state parks and forests. And let me ask you, do you have a favorite state park or forest that you've visited or would like to visit, or,
I will go with from my hometown, I will say Lover's Leap. I grew up in New Milford, and Lover's Leap is a nice combination of topography with the cliffs and the river, but also there's a lot of history up there. So that'll be my vote. Everyone should go check out Lover's Leap in New Milford.
Okay, that's perfect. That was, I think we had that, 3 years ago. It was one of our Sky's the Limit, hiking challenges. I want to say it was 3 years ago. I could be wrong, but I know it was in the past couple of years, and it's definitely a great spot. It's New Milford. That if you haven't been out there, I definitely agree. Got to get out there and check it out.
Yes, New Milford up, not Milford on the coast, everybody, in case you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you definitely got to distinguish that.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. What are some of the other highlights or challenges that you see coming up for DEEP in the summer months? It's a big part, I imagine. The summer season is kind of go time in a lot of ways for you guys. What do you see coming up for the summer?
Another incredibly busy summer, but rewarding summer, I think, for all of us involved that, work in the state parks and forests, knowing we're always looking for staff, seasonals, seasonal resource assistants.
And so there's a call out for lifeguards for this year?
Yeah, and thank you. That was my next point. Definitely lifeguards. So if you want to go to the Department of Administrative Services website, so look for kind of a state job posting for Connecticut DEEP. There's a laundry list there as well. So we're always kind of looking for new, great people to kind of join DEEP as a whole. And, I'll specifically talk for state parks and forests, especially from the lifeguards to seasonal resource assistants to campground attendants to maintainers, a little bit of everything. So definitely anybody that has interest in that, we're looking, and we'd love for you to come work for us. And there's quite of opportunity in terms of the different parks and locations that are looking. So I think with that, it's just, each summer, weather conditions are what they are. So if we have an incredibly beautiful summer, people will be out there already. As we know, what was it, 2 weeks ago, we had 90-degree weather. There was a picture that I saw one of the park staff had shared at Rocky Neck. The beach was packed and people were in the water. Yeah. The water was probably about 50 degrees, a little too chilly for me to go in. But, I think it's one of those, the balance that it's just the demand, the beautiful outdoor spaces that we have, doing our best to kind of continue to maintain that, to, make it an enjoyable and an inviting place for anybody coming in. Lots of programs that we'll be offering kind of at our park and forest locations, our nature centers, museums. Majority of those kind of open back up, if you will, for the season, Memorial Day weekend. For example, Gillette Castle opens back up. Fort Trumbull State Park in New London opens back up. Trying to think offhand, a lot of the other nature centers, museum, Dinosaur State Park is always, it's basically open year-round.
With indoor attraction things to see. And
exactly. Yeah, so you're kind of indoor, outdoor space. So all these locations have, great indoor spaces. Some have, museum or nature center, and others have just great trails. Putnam Memorial, up there, they have a wonderful visitor center. I think it's a Shinipset State Forest. They have the CCC Museum. So there's so many opportunities for people to get inside if they want to learn a little history or do some activities. But I will say our DEEP calendar of events is probably the best place for anybody interested to go look to see what type of programming we have going on regularly. As education outreach staff, we're putting kind of our programs up there regularly, as well as the rest of the agency. We're trying to utilize that main calendar for anybody looking.
And that's on the website?
So if you just, the Connecticut DEEP calendar of events, you go right up there, and it should have everything listed by day, by week, by month. With that too, our boating division always has great programs that are going on to sign up for boating safety classes. There's so much out there. So it depends on kind of what you're interested in, especially too. I can't forget to plug our Fish with Care folks. They're doing weekly, during the weekend fishing events, kind of all over the state. So another great thing to do, but it's just, there's so much to offer. There's not enough time to kind of mention it all, but I think there's, if you're interested in something, it's out there. It probably just depends on what park or forest that you're willing to drive to or go to. But
check that calendar. There's probably something going on.
There's probably something going on, and if it's not up there right now, it will be very shortly. And with that too, I know with our programs, we're going to do some kind of pop-up events where we'll just, probably go to one of the parks that's kind of some lesser known, and then some more popular ones, and kind of do some what we're calling pop-up events that we just show up and, kind of around the folks and interest the families, the kids, in some outdoor activities, scavenger hunts, challenges, just some fun things to do while people are out and about. Kind of a quick thing where, you can grab that scavenger hunt, go do your thing with the family and check out some great places and come back and see us generally for a little prize, a sticker, just something to kind of, something different for folks. But in general, I think it's going to be a wonderful summer coming up. Very busy, hoping the weather cooperates, that we see the nice balance of kind of nice weather, some rain as we need it. Had some great thunderstorms the other night, so that'll be interesting. I was not expecting those so soon, but I think in general, we'll be ready for the summer season. We're already there. Couple of the campgrounds, I think, maybe opening very soon. So camping will be another very busy year. The park supervisors, the staff, the campground staff, if they're not ready, they're getting there in the process of getting everything set and ready to go.
Very cool. You mentioned before that, the other day some people were swimming, which, I also think that's a little bit crazy, but it was warm enough. And, if anyone was planning on doing a lot of ice skating this last winter, they were probably out of luck in Connecticut. Has unpredictability and climate change had to impact your schedules at all? Have you had to consider that, in a winter you might not have ice-based activities and things like that?
It's a perfect question for me to answer right now. Absolutely, yes. And I can specifically speak from my own experience back in February. So we do what's called the Winter Festival event. We hold it every year at Burr Pond State Park in Torrington. So with COVID, obviously, it was a kind of a moot point. We didn't do it for a couple of years. And then last year, so not in 23, in 22, we had to actually cancel it. And we have never done that in 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
The ice, it was kind of rain, then it snowed, then it iced. Like it was an ice parking lot from the top of the parking lot at Burr Pond. So you would have literally just slid. It would have been a sheet of ice. So for safety perspective for all involved, we literally had to cancel it. We've never, ever had to do that. So what we've done, kind of, we're building in almost like rain dates, weather dates. So for this particular year, it's typically, it had always been held on the first Saturday in February, our Winter Festival event at Burr Pond. This year we had to do a backup date of Sunday the 5th, because on the 4th it was 25 below. That day. So you can't expect anybody, staff, visitors, anybody to come out. It wasn't safe. So I think in general, we're seeing kind of, whether it be program-wise, weather-wise, park-wise, we're definitely seeing some changes and differences. Some of it could be climate change. Some could just be weather. Some could be just conditions. Even too that, look, we're seeing the tick population. I don't think it got cold enough for many of them to kind of
get frozen over the winter.
But at the same time, there's so many different environmental factors that we're kind of all learning about as we go, and I can speak specifically for the programs that I run, but if you had one of the wildlife biologists or someone from the bear program or, someone else, they may have their own perspective on it. And I think for all of us, we're all noticing and recognizing things, just saying, okay. So now kind of factoring that into how we plan things, when we plan things. A lot of my events are generally rain or shine, unless there's, say, a hurricane or something that's coming through, or some really unsafe conditions, say from thunderstorms. But, generally kind of safety is of our, the most important thing kind of across the board. So definitely environmental factors, climate change, you name it, we've probably seen it or will see it. And it just depends on which deep personnel you're talking to and what the program is, or what they're kind of in charge of or responsible for. And they can give you probably a very different perspective on that, especially going back to kind of the cold water safety, knowing, this time of year, you should be wearing, it's required that you wear your life jacket. You know, it might look like a beautiful day, but the water is very cold, and God forbid you capsize or something happens. You want to have your personal flotation device on. You want to be safe. Again, you want to have that float plan. You want people to know where you are, where you're going, when you expect to be back. Because if you're not, that's when, you know, people need to start thinking about that and saying, okay, I haven't heard from Kristen. Where is she? But so for that, that's my kind of long-winded answer, but I think it's based on perspective and who you talk to and what program that you're talking specifically to.
And kind of lastly, we always like to look forward with the last question. Are you optimistic about the future of Connecticut State Parks?
Absolutely. I think, you know, we have wonderful resources, wonderful staff, programs, so much to offer. We just want to be able to kind of share our love, our knowledge, our parks, our forests with the Connecticut public and those kind of from out of state, you know, always looking, at least for my pros, to get feedback, whether it's positive, negative, somewhere in between, that we can only make programs better with information and knowledge from those kind of participating in them, and knowing, excuse me, that sometimes we have to vary the program. Sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's online. Some people, you know, we've learned that through COVID that, at least in the education outreach side of things, we're reaching different groups of people. But again, for me, it's not the same. You know, I'd much rather be in person talking to people, you know, doing programming. But I think in general, our parks, we're ready. We're looking forward to kind of the summer months coming up, and then kind of coming into fall and winter. Definitely a lot available for people to do. The parks are open all year. So it's winter, spring, summer, or fall. So there's something going on every type of the year. So if you're not a fisherman, you're not a swimmer, you're not a boater, well, there's other things you can do. There's hunting, there's archery, there's other inland type things that you can do recreationally. You could, you know, can hike, you can walk, you can just picnic, you can visit one of the nature centers, museums, you can just kind of, whatever your interest is, our different parks and forests, there's so many of them, you'll be able to find one that kind of suits your needs, your family's needs, what you're looking to do in any particular day.
Sounds awesome. Well, my hiking shoes are laced up and ready to go for this summer. Kristen, thank you so much for speaking with us today about our state parks.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to seeing everybody out in the parks and at, you know, some of our future Sky's the Limit programs and No Child Left Inside programs.
We'd like to thank our guest, Kristen Bellantuono of the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. Learn more at gatewayct.edu and housatonic.edu. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer. Christopher Gilson is our producer. Debbie draws on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like. And watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.